Shedeur Sanders has reportedly been offered a staggering $100 million deal to quit the NFL, an offer so complex it blurs the line between athlete and enterprise. Sources say the proposal doesn't come from a rival team but from a consortium of global brands, tech firms, and entertainment investors eager to make Sanders the face of a new sports business hybrid. Inside Berea, owner Jimmy Haslam, GM Andrew Berry, and coach Kevin Stefanski are scrambling amid security lockdowns and collapsing morale.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Unsure whether they're dealing with a business negotiation or a full-blown organizational coup. The offer redefines what it means to be a professional athlete, combining guaranteed wealth, media ventures, and equity stakes across global industries. But it also exposes the Browns' deeper fragility, a franchise so riddled with instability that even its brightest star could be lured away by forces far beyond football. The title isn't just a headline, it's a warning, a sign that the NFL's traditional control over player futures may be eroding faster than anyone expected. The Cleveland Browns are on the verge of a total breakdown. And no, this isn't about another disappointing season or some late-game fumble. This is about a $100 million bombshell that just hit the franchise right at its core. Their star quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, has been handed an unprecedented external offer that could pull him out of the NFL altogether. Not to another team. Not to a different league. But out, completely. And this isn't just a flashy endorsement deal or a cheeky sneaker collab. This is a full-blown, multi-industry, international business proposal. We're talking guaranteed payments, media ventures, branding campaigns, global marketing rights, and equity stakes across multiple sectors. This isn't a football contract. It's a power play to turn Shedeur Sanders into a global media empire. And it's got the entire Browns organization in absolute panic mode. From the top down, the building's on fire. Team owner Jimmy Haslam, GM Andrew Berry, and coach Kevin Stefanski are reportedly in damage control mode, scrambling behind the scenes in emergency meetings and internal lockdowns. Security has been heightened. Communications have gone dark. Trust inside the organization is cracking. And outside? Fans are livid. Season ticket holders are threatening to walk. Protests are bubbling up demanding transparency and accountability. Because this is more than just a player entertaining an offer. It's a full-scale crisis and the Browns weren't ready for it. Here's what makes it even more insane. The $100 million offer was built to bypass NFL restrictions. Legal teams structured it so meticulously that it avoids direct violations of player contracts, using mechanisms like social media-based performance incentives, equity investments, and third-party collaborations. It's not a contract in the traditional sense. It's an empire in a box. And it positions Sanders not as a quarterback, but as a multimedia business brand. This is happening at the worst possible time for Cleveland. The team's already reeling from internal dysfunction, coaching drama, leadership questions, and years of quarterback roulette. The locker room is tense. Morale is shaky. The entire franchise is ripe for outside exploitation. And these external interests? They knew it. They moved in strategically, weaponizing Cleveland's chaos to try and steal the face of the franchise away under the league's nose. The Browns' response so far? Desperate. They're reportedly working on a complete restructuring of Sanders' rookie contract, offering sky-high guarantees and even organizational influence. Not just money. Influence. Control. Power. That's how serious this is. They're willing to hand him the keys to the franchise just to keep him in uniform. But here's the catch, it might not be enough. Legal experts are now weighing in, saying Sanders could challenge his NFL contract altogether. Think hostile work environment, breach of good faith, organizational misconduct. If that sounds wild, it's because it is. But legally? There might be a path. If a court agrees, Sanders could walk away from the NFL with cause, and rewrite how rookie contracts are enforced forever. National media is in a frenzy. Every major outlet is analyzing the ripple effect this could cause across the entire league. Because if Sanders can do this, if an outside force can buy out a rising NFL star using a legal backdoor, what's stopping anyone else? The implications are massive. Other teams are watching this like hawks. Some are quietly hoping it works just to see if they can replicate it. Others are terrified, realizing the whole league structure could be at risk. And the global side of this? It's huge. The groups behind this $100 million deal are international powerhouses, sports betting companies, fashion brands, streaming platforms, tech investors. all eyeing Sanders not just as a quarterback but as a brand, a global influencer, a walking, talking monetization machine. He's marketable across continents, across demographics, across industries. To them, Sanders isn't just an athlete, he's a cultural currency. And they want in now before the NFL locks him in too deep. Cleveland, meanwhile, is unraveling. Internally, the team is reportedly considering giving Sanders a say in everything from roster decisions to branding campaigns. A total shift from drafted rookie to franchise architect. But that kind of move? It doesn't come without chaos. Coaching authority is already fragile. There are conflicts over player discipline. Team culture has been in flux for years. Giving that kind of power to a single player, no matter how talented, could ignite even more internal fractures. And it's not like Cleveland has a stable history to lean on. This franchise has spent decades spinning the quarterback carousel, struggling with leadership and alienating its own fan base. Sanders was supposed to be the turning point, the one who could finally bring direction, excitement, and relevance. Now they might lose him before he even gets to his second season. And let's not forget, this isn't just a business decision for Sanders. It's personal. His father, Deion Sanders, is both mentor and strategist. The family dynamic adds layers of pressure, pride, and legacy. The debate isn't just about money, it's about health, happiness, branding, and long-term stability. Football might be the dream, but generational wealth and global control? That's hard to walk away from. Especially when your current employer is scrambling to hold itself together. The NFL league office? Silent but alert. If this plays out the way it's trending, it could shake the very structure of the league's governance. Rookie contract controls? May not mean what they used to. Franchise control over player movement? Possibly outdated. There's a very real chance that Shedeur Sanders becomes the face of a new model, where players don't wait for free agency to build power. They just take it. The players' union is stuck in the middle. Support Sanders too openly, and they risk breaking the very framework they negotiated. Oppose him and they alienate future stars. Either way, the precedent this sets could redefine player autonomy for years. Behind the headlines, the financial mechanics of the deal are wild. It's not just a $100 million lump sum. It's broken down into immediate guarantees, performance-based bonuses tied to digital engagement, and equity stakes in businesses that could multiply in value. This isn't athlete compensation, it's venture capitalism. And it positions Sanders as a founder, not a follower. Cleveland's counter? Still being drafted. They're looking at major operational reforms. But internal friction remains high. Trust is low. And even if they do pull together a monster offer, it's unclear if Sanders is willing to bet his future on a franchise that's been anything but stable. And honestly, who could blame him? This situation isn't just a negotiation. It's an exposé of everything broken inside the Browns organization. It's shining a light on decades of dysfunction, systemic leadership issues, and a culture that's failed to support long-term success. If this ends with Sanders walking, it'll be more than just losing a player. It'll be a symbol. A billboard-sized message that the franchise couldn't protect the one future it actually had. And even if he stays, the damage is done. Trust has been breached. The illusion of stability is gone. Fans know it. The media knows it. The locker room definitely knows it. Now it's just a matter of watching how far the fallout spreads. This whole saga is a turning point. Not just for Shedeur Sanders. Not just for the Browns. But for the entire NFL. It's about power. Autonomy. Branding. It's about athletes becoming their own industries, and what happens when the traditional gatekeepers can't keep up. Because at the end of the day, Sanders isn't just negotiating for a better contract. He's standing at the center of a potential revolution. And the Browns? They're either going to rise with him or crumble in the attempt to keep him. If this story made your jaw drop, let's talk about it. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What would you do in Sanders' shoes? Is this the beginning of the end for NFL control, or just a one-time spectacle? And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what happens next, because you know the drama isn't over. Right now, every sports executive in America is holding their breath, and every PR team in the league is updating their crisis playbook in real time. Because Shedeur Sanders' $100 million offer? It's not just a massive payday. It's a blueprint, a threat, a warning. And for Cleveland, it's the start of what might become the most embarrassing meltdown in franchise history. And yes, that bar is already on the floor. The Browns didn't just get blindsided, they got exposed. Let's talk about what's really freaking people out here. This isn't some impulsive influencer cash grab. This was planned. Carefully. Strategically. The timing of the offer coincides perfectly with Cleveland's internal chaos. As the front office was fighting over coaching decisions and trying to clean up the mess from months of locker room tension, this external group swooped in with a deal so complex and so calculated, you'd think it was orchestrated by a hedge fund married to a Netflix executive. And maybe it was. Because this deal doesn't play by old-school NFL rules. It was designed to sidestep them. Performance metrics tied to Instagram engagement? Equity in global fashion lines? Long-term revenue sharing from content streams? That's not a contract, that's a brand launch. They didn't just ask Sanders to leave football. They offered him the throne to a multimedia empire with his name carved in gold. Meanwhile, Cleveland's response is still stuck in 2003, throwing Hail Marys in a boardroom and begging their lawyers to find a loophole in rookie contracts that have never seen a test like this. And while the franchise flails, the fans are losing it. Season ticket holders, already frustrated with years of underperformance and dysfunction, are now threatening boycotts. Local radio is on fire with callers demanding heads roll. There's even talk of protests outside the stadium. Why? Because they know this isn't just a contract dispute, it's a referendum on whether the Browns can keep anyone worth keeping. The Browns are stuck trying to fix a broken foundation with duct tape and PR statements. And behind closed doors? It's worse. Staff are reportedly at odds. Coaches and execs disagree on how much power to give Sanders. Some want to restructure everything around him, make him a partner, give him real influence in operations. Others are terrified that doing so would tear apart whatever's left of the team dynamic. And that tension? It's bleeding into the locker room. Players are watching all of this unfold and wondering, if Shedeur gets to run the show, what happens to us? Is this still a team, or just a business built around one guy? Even more chilling? Some insiders think it might already be too late. That the offer was never about negotiating. That it was about building a stage where Sanders could walk off the field and step into something bigger. Something the NFL was never built to compete with. Because here's the uncomfortable truth the league doesn't want to face. The NFL doesn't have a monopoly on power anymore. Not with players who command massive digital audiences. Not with global markets eager to turn athletes into influencers, CEOs, and media moguls. And definitely not with a generation that sees the game as just one part of the portfolio, not the whole plan. What Shedeur Sanders is facing is something we haven't seen before. Not a fork in the road, but an exit ramp. Off the traditional path, away from franchise control, and into a world where athletes don't just endorse brands, they own them. And the NFL? It's watching, silently, nervously, because they know if Sanders walks, someone else will follow. Now let's not forget, this isn't a normal quarterback we're talking about. Shedeur isn't just talented. He's media-savvy, brand-conscious, and let's be honest, already a household name before his rookie season even settled in. Add in the fact that he's Deion Sanders' son? Yeah. This was never going to be a typical career trajectory. This was always going to be bigger. Deion himself has been vocal about protecting his son's mental health, financial future, and long-term happiness. And behind the scenes, sources say he's deeply involved in the decision-making process. He's advising Shedeur not just as a father, but as someone who understands the machine, and how to avoid getting chewed up by it. From what's leaking out, Sanders is torn. He wants to compete. He wants to prove he can dominate in the NFL. But this isn't about quitting. It's about choosing the path that offers long-term power instead of short-term control. And you know what? That's the part that's making the NFL sweat. Because this isn't just Shedeur taking a bag and disappearing. This is about challenging the entire system of control that's held the league together for decades. The legal possibilities alone are a powder keg. If Sanders invokes hostile work environment or breach of good faith and wins, that opens the door for other players to challenge their contracts too. Rookie deals, long considered airtight, suddenly become flexible. And if they become flexible, the league loses leverage. Fast. Meanwhile, the Browns are drafting emergency plans. There's talk of rebuilding the organizational chart to give Sanders a say in marketing, media, and even some player decisions. Think about that. A second-year quarterback being offered executive-level power because the team is that afraid of losing him. And maybe they should be. Because losing Sanders wouldn't just hurt on the field, it would destroy what little credibility Cleveland has left. It would be the latest in a long line of quarterback catastrophes. But worse, this time it wouldn't be about poor performance. It would be about failure to lead, failure to protect, failure to adapt. If this move goes through, the Browns don't just lose a player, they lose a generation. They become a cautionary tale. A meme. Another headline in a franchise history full of them. And it doesn't stop there. You think other franchises aren't watching this? You think teams with toxic locker rooms and power-hungry owners aren't sweating bullets at the idea of their players getting similar offers? This is Pandora's box. Once it opens, you don't get to close it. Right now, league lawyers are scrambling. PR reps are spinning. Union officials are walking a legal tightrope, trying to protect player rights without upending the league structure. And through all of it, Shedeur Sanders is sitting at the center, quietly deciding what kind of future he wants. Does he want to build his name through the league? Or above it? Because make no mistake, this decision will have ripple effects. If Sanders walks away, it creates a blueprint for other elite rookies to follow. Athletes become owners. Contracts become partnerships. And franchises lose the power to dictate careers. The NFL would have to change fast, or risk becoming obsolete in the eyes of its most valuable stars. Cleveland's window to fix this is closing by the hour. And honestly, no one's betting on them to pull it off. This isn't about football anymore. This is about legacy, power, control. It's about what happens when a player refuses to play by the rules, because the game being offered outside the lines is just too good to pass up. The Browns may have drafted Shedeur Sanders, but they didn't secure him. And now, they're fighting an uphill battle against something way bigger than free agency. They're fighting a cultural shift, a business revolution. And if they lose this, they don't just lose the season, they lose everything. And for the Cleveland Browns? This might be their most humiliating chapter yet. A franchise already buried under decades of dysfunction has now been dragged into a 21st century battle they never saw coming, one they were totally unequipped to fight. Let's be clear, Shedeur Sanders isn't the problem. He's the warning sign, the symptom of something deeper. What's happening here is the result of years of leadership failures, cultural instability, and outdated thinking. The Browns didn't lose control of this situation overnight. They laid the groundwork for this collapse long ago. And now it's playing out in the ugliest way possible. They finally got a quarterback who could break the curse. Someone with star power, skill, and charisma. A guy who brought buzz back to the city. And within months, they let the situation spiral so badly that global investors are stepping in and trying to pull him out of the league entirely. You can't make this up. And you better believe every other player in the locker room is watching closely. Because when your star quarterback gets a $100 million golden parachute outside the NFL, it changes the entire vibe inside the building. It sets a tone. It tells the guys putting in work every week, there's another way. A more lucrative, less chaotic path. What do you think that does to morale? There's no focus. No unity. The locker room is fractured. Some players support Sanders, seeing him as a pioneer. Others resent the chaos. And leadership? Caught in the middle, spinning in circles trying to appease everyone while the ship takes on water. The coaching staff is stuck in limbo, unsure how to lead when the most important guy on the roster might be halfway out the door. It's hard enough to coach in the NFL. Try doing it with a media firestorm outside, your QB's loyalty in question, and national reporters camped outside the facility waiting for the next leak. And speaking of leaks, everything is leaking. Details from closed-door meetings. Contract restructuring drafts. Even internal discussions about possibly giving Shedeur partial control over team branding decisions. It's chaos. Absolute chaos. You know who thrives in chaos? Not Cleveland. Historically, they collapse in it. And let's talk about the power play here, because this external offer didn't just land randomly. It was timed. These groups moved fast and precisely, waiting until Cleveland was at its most vulnerable. A franchise in flux, with locker room discontent and front office confusion? That's a goldmine for opportunists. This $100 million proposal wasn't a feeler. It wasn't exploratory. It was fully built out. Backed by lawyers, media executives, marketing strategists, and global investors who already have the infrastructure in place to monetize Sanders the second he says yes. They've probably already drafted campaign pitches, lined up production teams, secured digital partnerships. This wasn't a shot in the dark, it was a sniper hit. And Cleveland never saw the red dot on their forehead. Meanwhile, other NFL teams are now holding emergency meetings of their own. Because if this becomes the norm, if players start entertaining these kinds of external super deals mid-contract, it's game over for old-school control. You can't govern the league the same way. You can't enforce rules that don't apply in the new economy of athlete entrepreneurs. And make no mistake, this isn't a Shedeur Sanders problem. He's just the tip of the iceberg. What happens next sets a precedent for every future top prospect, every high-profile rookie who realizes they don't need the league the way the league needs them. And let's not forget the optics here. Because while this legal drama unfolds, the NFL is looking more and more like the outdated gatekeeper trying to keep its stars chained to an old system while the outside world builds them something shinier. It's giving Blockbuster versus Netflix, and we all remember how that ended. What happens if Shedeur walks away? That's not just a business decision, that's a legacy moment. A move that splits the NFL era in two, before Sanders and after. He'd go down not just as a talented QB, but as the player who changed the rules of engagement forever. And you can bet the league office is sweating bullets behind the scenes. Because the last thing they want is a superstar rookie challenging the contract system and winning. If Sanders finds a legal way out and proves the hostile work environment argument holds water, it opens floodgates. Suddenly, rookie deals aren't ironclad anymore. Suddenly, being drafted doesn't guarantee control. The entire labor structure of the league gets called into question. And that's not just a PR nightmare. That's a systemic threat. Now, what happens if Cleveland manages to keep him? Let's say they throw the bag. Let's say they offer him a restructured contract, organizational influence, and every promise under the sun. They still lose. What? Because now every player knows what it takes to get real leverage. Chaos. This becomes a blueprint. Want power? Disrupt the system. Want equity? Threaten to walk. Want control? Show the world you don't need the NFL to be a brand. It's a genie the league won't be able to put back in the bottle. And for Cleveland? If they somehow convince Sanders to stay, they'll spend the next season walking on eggshells, constantly trying to prove they're worthy of his commitment. That's not a healthy franchise, that's a hostage situation with a scoreboard. The ripple effects are already forming. Other agents are calling media companies. Investment firms are watching the headlines. Rising stars at the college level are seeing what's possible and asking how they can build their own exit strategies before even signing their first NFL deal. The ecosystem is shifting. Right now. And in the middle of it all stands the Cleveland Browns. Once again, the face of dysfunction. Not just because they failed to protect their franchise player, but because they never built an organization sturdy enough to keep him in the first place. This isn't just a misstep. It's a collapse. The kind that sends shockwaves for years. And Shedeur? No matter what he decides, he's already won. He's changed the conversation. He's forced a reckoning. Whether he stays or goes, he's made it clear. Players hold the power now. And the teams that can't adapt? They'll be left behind. So yeah, this might be the moment that broke the Browns for good. Let's hear it. If you were in Shedeur's position, would you take the deal and walk away from the league? Or would you stay and try to fix a franchise already on life support? Drop your take in the comments and don't forget to subscribe, because this drama? Oh, it's just getting started.